chat. Oh, yes, I can do that.
Okay,
now.
I have to mute you because I'm pretty sure you're not muted right now. We are. What's.
Hello, hello.
Yeah. Hello, hello, indeed.
Hello, hello, hello. Do it RuPaul style.
Right. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, mama. Um, yeah. We're back sooner than a week
Mm.
because we streamed late in the week last week. So
Yes, we
normally,
did. Yeah.
normally this will be the normal time. This will be the normal time, right? Oh, I forgot to get my notes up on my other computer. What? I was just sitting here, just gabbing, but that's okay.
Little pre-stream chit chat.
A little pre-stream chit chat. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, talking about cults this week, I think is going to be fun. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. It's certainly fun to research. Like, I
Yeah.
I don't want to be insensitive, but like cult documentaries are some of the most interesting shit. Like,
Yeah.
I
I
don't
think
know.
it's like no, I completely agree. I think it's people like try to picture themselves like becoming, at least this is what I do. I try to like put myself in the place of like somebody is
Oh, that's
who
wild.
gets involved with a cult or becomes influenced by a cult, and I'm like, I can't see myself doing that. So trying to like wrap your brain around the psychology of somebody that has happened to is like
Yeah.
very interesting, at least in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more because, like, a lot of it, I like to think, like, I'm too smart to fall for that. But the more that I'm actually listening to it, the more that
Yes.
I learned, especially in this research, about
Yeah.
exactly kind of the tactics that are there, whether explicitly engaged in or implicitly engaged in. You'd be hard pressed to not fall for it. You
I
know,
can,
like
yeah.
it's a little bit fucked, but I watched a documentary about the cult of Mother God called Love Has Won. Have you heard of this?
No.
It's one of the most fucked cult documentaries I have ever seen. So this woman calls herself Mother God. She's just some girl.
Hmm.
She's just a human woman that just decided she had like some pretty bummer past and was like, high up in management at McDonald's when she was like, in her, as a teenager, which is like impressive as a teenager, and was like super high achieving, and then had some shitty stuff happen and just kind of like steered into like, party lifestyle, and then steered into hippie party lifestyle, and then never returned
Oh.
from that. And yeah, a pretty bummer past.
Sorry.
A content warning bummer past from what I remember. I don't think they go explicitly into it, but if you ever think you're going to watch it, I won't spoil it for you, but if you don't think you're
Oh,
ever going to
sorry.
watch it.
I'm already spoiling it. I just
Oh,
realized.
are you googling it?
I just googled it. Yeah, because I haven't heard about this new age group. I feel like that's what so many of them are now.
Yeah, so this woman
Is
calls herself Mother God, and her followers call her Mother God. And there's a Father God, then there's a Supreme Father God, and there's like Daddy God. I'm not even kidding. And
this is also it. Oh
so
God.
she starts as is the new age hippie sort of
Oh,
like thing.
she's no longer alive. Okay,
She's no
that's
longer
okay.
alive, so that's one of
Okay.
the things. And
Hmm.
as is the kind of grand tradition of these things, she started just taking herbal supplements and things that are objectively not just not effective, as we talked
Yeah.
about in our wellness stream, but actually harmful, like colloidal silver. And she took so much
So
colloidal
the
silver.
the fuck is colloidal silver? That's a supplement that you can
Yeah,
consume.
it's a liquid, and it's silver. It's the
Yeah.
element silver.
Yeah.
Um, Colloidal silver. Here, I'll type it in the chat so folks can look it up. Colloidal silver. Um, yeah, not quicksilver. That's mercury, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, colloidal
Mhm.
silver. People genuinely believe this. I believe it comes a little bit from some actual documentation about.
It is not safe or effective. It is neither of those things.
No, no, no. It's
Yeah.
it's actually actively harmful. Look up what
Yeah.
people's skin looks like when they take too much colloidal silver. Just go to the images. I'm sure there will be a picture of someone that is blue. Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
So
Oh
this
my
woman,
god.
I hate to speak ill of her because she's dead, but she took so much colloidal silver that she was literally blue. Like when she was still alive, she was blue.
Dude, that's so crazy.
Yeah, it's one of the craziest cult documentaries I've ever seen by a long shot.
Sorry, do you become blue because it's like a deoxygenation thing, or it's like you're blue just because like you eat too many carrots, kind of
Yep,
like
yeah,
you're
it's that one. It's that one. Mother God to Mother Smurf. Legit. It's honestly,
Oh
it's pretty disturbing. It's pretty fucked. So yeah, she took colloidal silver, turned herself
my. Hmm.
blue. One of the guys that she chose to be Mother God was just like straight up a narcissistic, abusive piece of shit, and is
So
like,
she just picks random people to be Mother God?
no, she's always Mother God, Father God, and
Oh,
and
sorry.
Daddy
Okay, okay.
God, and like she had a little
It's
hierarchy of
Supreme
men
Daddy
that
God.
she, yeah, literally, and then the belief system started to like evolve into what was going to happen to her body when she died, because she was like, I know I'm dying because I'm actively poisoning myself with colloidal silver. She didn't say that, of course, but
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
she was like, I know I'm dying and you have to take me out to the woods and let the aliens come and like recover my body. And
Bruh.
yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts. If you
That's
ever
so
want to
crazy.
be so profoundly grateful for your own just normal fucked up life, that really did it for me. That really, really did it for me. I was like,
Yeah,
you know what?
yeah.
Things are pretty okay here. Things are pretty normal. But
Well, I mean, I have to disagree. I feel like one of the things that I like doing the research about the cults was like how similar so many of the um like the social dynamics that are used to maintain power in cults are also used in authoritarianism, and obviously we're living through
oh yes.
some mild authoritarianism right
I don't
now.
know that
So
you even need to have a mild. I think it might just be we just might be living in it under authoritarian
I
rule at the current
I
moment.
mean it, and yeah, I mean it's an attempt at authority. Like it's a transition towards. Therefore, it has not yet
Yeah.
gotten there. But
Yeah.
hmm
We are yeah. It's trouble. It's I definitely noticed that too. It's one of those things where like I it's hard to not it's impossible to not see the similarities between that
yeah,
and certain political ideologies and political following styles. Like it's not even like the system itself that people are prescribing to doesn't even necessarily have to be overtly deliberately cult like in like leadership for the
hmm
people to act as though they're under cult like control. And I think that's like where the line starts to get wavy about what actually is a cult TM
true, yeah.
versus what just seems to be operating like that. Get a Grip says, I would say we're at a medium, mild, medium, and spicy
Medium
authority.
spicy at 13. Yeah, I would definitely say we're medium. We're getting there.
No, what do people call it when it's like really spicy food, like bone flesh melting? No, what you know what it
Face melting.
when you get like wings that are like crazy, like a billion Scovilles. There's like mild, medium, hot, and then there's like, sweetie, what is it? What's the name for
I
really?
assume it's face melting with
No, it can't be face melting. No,
Yeah, it'll melt your face off. That's like a thing.
there's another word that I'm thinking of that isn't that, but
You're
that's
not
okay.
scalding? Is that like what
No,
you're?
no. What is it? I don't know.
How yeah.
It
How
really
literal are
doesn't
we
matter.
being?
But yeah, it's we have the potential. Is he looking it up?
atomic nuclear.
Yeah, maybe nuclear or
Okay.
atomic or something. Yeah, that's kind of more what I was thinking.
Okay. Scorching, sizzling.
Yeah. Anyways, face melting. Sure. You know what? I like that. It is.
Okay, we'll take it.
Oh yeah, suicide. Exactly. Ezra Pizza. Thank you very much. We're talking not about actually self-harm here, but when they call wing flavors so spicy that they label them as suicide. That's exactly what I was thinking. Thank you. Also, welcome in, Ezra Pizza.
Sorry, you equated that with flesh melting. You
I knew
are
that
you
it was
just
some sort of really like
just
off-base catastrophic
yeah,
way, like almost problematic kind of thing.
just microdosing sulfuric acid? Just
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Just
screaming.
microdosing damage to your internal organs. You could go colloidal silver or spicy wings, one of the two.
Yeah, no, I feel
Hi,
you.
Beetlebop. Okay, so Hoon has, this is just a completely sidetrack. Hoon has what we call her itty bitty mouse, which is just
Okay.
it's a catnip mouse that she
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stole.
Does she
Stole.
respond to cat? Do dogs respond to catnip too, or no?
Apparently, I just quickly Googled this one day when she stole the itty bitty mouse.
Yeah.
Um, and it said that it can be like kind of sedating to dogs. I don't know how
Interesting.
that would be true, but anyways. Radiation poisoning buffalo. Geiger counter breaking buffalo wings.
Stop. Stop.
What? Don't start with me. Yeah, kind of problematic. It is kind of problematic now that I
It
think
is
of
super
it.
problematic.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
don't,
yeah.
don't love that. Don't love that at all. But yeah. Anyways, yeah. So
Yeah.
it feels like we're in kind of a pseudo cult like, or a lot of the political kind of factions of day to day and punditry definitely feels cult adjacent.
Mm-hmm. It's funny that you're like also watching cult stuff because I just finished a show, which is like it's not even remotely like realistic, but it's like multiple seasons. It's called Search Party. It just landed on Netflix here.
Search
And the
party.
main character is
I'll look it up.
Alia Shawkat, and I will show
I love
you.
her.
Yes, right. So that's
What
if
a
anyone's
freckly. Is she
familiar
a
with
lesbian? I feel like she's a lesbian.
I feel like
She's
she definitely
played a
gives lesbian
lesbian.
vibes.
She's played a lesbian.
She was in
Um,
Broad City and played a lesbian. Yeah. So why am
she
I
she
struggling
was
with
she
this?
was the cousin in Arrested Development. Anyways, what's it called?
Uh,
Search Party?
yes.
Ah, okay.
And
It's called.
so essentially what happens is maybe I shouldn't spoil it, but the first season somebody goes missing
Mm.
and she gets like very invested in like finding this person that she like vaguely knew in college. And then the second
Hmm.
season, yeah, the second season is about somebody being like they like commit somebody commits murder and they're like concerned that they're going to be caught. The third season is the trial. Fourth season it starts to go down. She gets a stalker and she like ends up in the basement in like a
How
padded room
very
style. Yeah.
you of them.
And yes, very very much so. And then the last season is she like the one of the characters like dies and then like comes back to life and is like I'm enlightened and then starts like a whole cult based on it, and it's so interesting. I was looking this up and I was just thinking about that because I literally
Yeah,
finished the show,
yeah.
but I feel like it's some of the language that is used is so accurate to like what is used in, and we've talked about this in like wellness grifting, right? It's
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, lean into love,
Yeah.
essential oils,
Ascend
and
to your higher self. No. Hate
take
it.
all these health supplements, right? So it's like you get into
Mm-hmm.
this like weird hippie space
Yeah.
you're right. Like you sometimes it's very difficult. That line is so fine. This it's such a gray area that you're like, are we in cult territory? And I think the authoritarianism thing is very, very obvious,
Yeah.
but it starts with like gradual change, right? It starts with
Yeah.
like a normalization process of like, okay,
Uh-huh.
we can if we can accept this, can we take it a step further? If we can
Yeah.
accept that, can we take it a step further?
It's the whole frog boiling in the water thing. Like the
Yeah.
metaphor of like there's like a frog that's like dried out and he like you offer him a little bit of water but it's technically a boiling pot but he doesn't notice because he's like, oh thank god I'm not drying out and dying, and then he turns out he is gonna die because he's gonna get boiled. Bad. Don't like that. But that was actually
The
a
temperature.
metaphor that one of the again I listen to podcasts because frequently I want to do this when I'm like I want to research things when I'm hands free, not sitting and taking notes all the time. And so I listened to a podcast called The Cult on the Cape, which I don't know what like the background of that actual podcast is, but the woman that was on it is a she what's her last name, Lambert Faber, Fabert. She's
Okay.
a cult researcher, and she was on this and she was talking about that exact metaphor, is that like it doesn't happen overnight. They don't start with the here's your Kool-Aid, thanks, welcome to the welcome dinner, drink the Kool-Aid now. They get you, you know, it's a gradual step, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also quite a few Netflix documentaries about like some of the most famous cults I'm thinking of. I just like looked them up and I was thinking about I feel like we know them based on often, right, like the figure, like the prominent figure
Oh
that's
yeah, like
associated with them, right? So,
Jonestown.
yes, exactly. So Jim Jones, which is where the Kool-Aid comes from, the cyanide laced
Yeah,
punch. Manson family,
yeah,
Charles Manson.
that's a classic.
And then I'm trying to think. Oh yes, the Japanese cult that I'm trying to remember
Oh,
the name of. I
Shenyun
guess it is.
or the Happy People one.
No, not Shenyun.
Shenyun is a
No,
cult.
never Shenyun. I know it is. I know. Uh, this one. I can't. I'm not gonna try and say it right now, but
Yeah.
it's led by, this is actually the one here. It's like led by this guy in Japan. And like again, it's always like the face of the
Yeah.
person who leads it. You don't
Yeah.
necessarily oh yeah, Love Has One, Mother God is in there too, Amy Carlson. Like
Right?
and oh they really oh my god, they have the fundamentalist Latter-day Saints on here too. That's so
I mean,
crazy.
that's not a cult. When you look at
Yeah.
the actual origins of
Warren
it,
Jeffs. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
because it's a sect of Christianity, people
Hmm.
consider it like just an extreme version of Christianity, which it very much is, but that doesn't accept it from being a cult. They're not mutually
Well,
exclusive categories.
I was gonna
Like,
say, so we can go like you can talk about like fundamentalist Latter-day Saints. And I feel like that's pretty well accepted that it's like has a lot of cult behavior, especially because
yeah,
it's very insular.
yeah,
But I mean, I know quite a few Mormons who have just left the generalist Mormon church
yeah,
who say, yeah, there's some like very culty shit in there. And again, it's
absolutely.
like it's much more normalized
Yeah,
because they like walk around and do like everyday stuff, but it still has like might have elements of that.
yeah,
So, but and I think maybe it has less of that like cultiness because it doesn't have some of the essential elements of a cult. So like charismatic leader is one that we've already
yeah,
talked about,
yeah,
where you kind of have this like central figurehead
yeah.
that
Well,
it's
because their
based around.
original one died, and then just all the subsequent ones have been far less charismatic. So it did start with one of those, but
Are you talking about like
I
the
can,
like the person who founded the Mormon
yeah, I
Church?
don't know. He had a bunch of mutton chops and shit like that. It was like a whole
Are
thing.
we talking about what
I can't
who
remember his
founded?
name.
I can't even remember. Joseph something, right? Joseph who founded
It
Mormonism.
was some guy that just wants you to eat cornflakes. He was just like, nah, that's sin for sure. He just made a bunch of decisions about what
Are
he
you talking
thought
about
was.
like Joseph Smith?
I
Like
think so. I think that sounds
okay.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And he just got a bunch of people that were like, yeah, cornflakes are the only thing we're allowed to eat. Flavor is a sin. Enjoyment is a sin.
I think you might be like leaning Pentecostal.
I know zero things about Pentecostal, so it would be shocking if I accidentally were, but I
Wait,
could be
wait.
wrong. I
No.
know so many
Not
people that are Mormons.
sorry, not Pentecostal. What was okay, your former roommate who you went dancing with that one time? Where
She was my
what is
roommate,
she the
her other Alicia. She lived above me. Yeah, that I went dancing with one time. Yeah, she was
what
LDS. She
was
was a
her thing?
Mormon. Yeah,
Are you sure?
I'm
I don't think it was
100% sure. I'm 100% sure. They go by a bunch of different names, but it's the same thing. They go to the Mormon church in Calgary.
really?
Yeah,
Oh shit. Okay, never mind
yeah.
then. I thought it was
They
you had
don't
named
call
it something
themselves
else. Like,
that though. They call themselves LDS, like the Latter-day Saints, the Church of Jesus Christ of
mhm.
Latter-day Saints. But that's just a different way to call a Mormon. It's the same. It's the exact same ideology. Can't cut your hair, it's vain. Can't wear makeup, it's vain. Can't show
Yeah,
titties, it's
okay.
vain. Can't enjoy anything, it's vain. It's bad.
Show Bobs.
Show
uh
no show bobs. Zero bob show.
no show
Yeah.
Bobs. Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah.
I took this
Well, I mean,
to tell you guys the story that Layla's referring to.
mhm.
There was a girl, her name was also Alicia. She lived above me, and we met like in the hallway because we had a psycho other guy that lived in the building that was like just actively a criminal and would like threaten me in the hallway. And she was like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" and brought me into her apartment one time after this. We chatted and she's like, "You should come hang out." And I didn't really realize that she was like super in that world, but we hung out a bunch of times. She was
Mhm.
engaged to the pastor's son, and she was not super into it. You could kind of tell. She's like, "Wow, you play video games? What's that like?" And like, just she was like, "I played Wii Fit once. It was so much fun. I'm thinking of getting an Xbox Connect so I can exercise because that's not a video game if it's for exercise." And I'm like, "Girl, You're trying to find loopholes. I'm like, you should come dancing. So I took her dancing
No.
to a bar, and she said it
Okay,
was the best
Alicia.
night of her life.
It was you when you first told me that story. She was a Seventh-day Adventist. That was I remember there was a number in
You're
it.
right. Okay, so also the same thing though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Are 7-day Adventists and LDS similar? Because I think Mormonism is just kind of its own thing out, and like maybe they do go to the share superficial 19th century American roots and healthy lifestyle practices, but they have profoundly different core doctrines.
Okay, I mean, go off.
I mean, there are plenty of sects of Christianity that are like very culty and
Sure.
have very culty aspects associated with them. So like potato. I don't disagree. Like
Yeah, it's mainly because I used to work with this girl, Angelique, who called herself a Seventh-day Adventist. And I was just like, what's that? And she's like, oh, you know, the church that's by X parking lot at the university. And that was the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So
interesting.
I
Okay.
assumed her being an SDA and going to that church as her church meant that. But honestly, that might be a false equivalency on my part, and I'm basing this off of one data point, which is not very scientific of me, frankly.
A little bit of anecdotal evidence for funsies.
Yeah. In any event, all of this fundamentalism is crazy, and them being told that they're not allowed to see movies in theaters. What?
That's wait, what? That's so crazy.
Because if there's a film that's like about a demon, like say The Exorcist has been shown on that screen, that the demon that's being transmitted through, like Satan's message is being transmitted through this film. And if that film has been projected on the same screen, then it can get trapped. And even if you're seeing Finding Nemo, you can get that demon transmitted to you. That is what this Alicia person told me was their belief. And I was just like, that's insane. How is that possible?
That's actually insane.
And she's like, well, I mean, I could try and explain it to you, but yeah, girl, Satan has messaged all over me. Wait, what?
I'm not sure.
I don't get it. But Bob showing is a sin, though. But
I hope they find the demon, inshallah.
Inshallah, they find the demon.
Inshallah, they find him. That's one of my favorite memes.
Yeah, it is. Bobs are never a sin. That's true. God made bobs. Why would God make such beautiful bobs if he didn't want the world to be able to enjoy these bobs? As in, I've watched a lot of movies. Dang, guys. Oh, I get it. Okay, I understand. Me too.
I still don't get it.
Well, because if you watch films, then Satan has been giving you his message just continually.
No?
Okay. Well,
Okay, I don't know. I'm trying to yes and that, but I'm like, I don't understand it. I mean, Sean, you definitely don't go to the theater, so, like, I don't know what you're talking
that
about.
is the first most ritual of straight Satan. Yeah, you know, I feel he gets you. He's gonna get you. Any which way, right?
Yeah, gonna get you.
This girl had a Red Bull at the club. She didn't drink alcohol. She just like waved her uncut, undyed hair around to that Paralyzed by what's that band? It's like a rock like.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Like, and she said it was, and I quote, the best night of her entire life. And I was like, it can't be. And she's like, no, Alicia, I've never felt so free. And I'm like, oh my God, girl. And then she had a real job. She did end up marrying this man. Her and I fell out of contact for a little bit because...
Sorry, Paralyzer by Finger 11?
That's correct. That is the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just confirm. Okay. I was like, that timeline lines up with that they'd be playing that in a dive bar.
Yeah. It was called the Back Alley, and it was one of the best bars that I've ever been to at that age in my life. It was enormous, and just they played that kind of like rock and roll slutty music instead of like top 40 kind of, you know.
Yeah.
It was like a little bit alt, but still like, you know, you could dress hoey and go out in minus 40 degree weather and go dance your butt off.
Is going out a cult, Alicia? No, I'm kidding.
It's going out of color. I don't know. That girl was ready to fucking sign up, though. Old Man Felonious, the back alley sounds
Back
sketch.
alley sounds sketchy. Yes, it does.
It so was. It was one of the sketchiest
Given-
places ever. But I had my birthday party there, and Carly had her birthday party there, like a lot. It was great.
From my experience of the bars that Alicia has taken me to in the past, sketchy. Either sketchy or sticky floor, or both.
I don't manage the bars, Layla.
You just go to them. You patron them.
Sorry, -40, I would actually die. Yeah, -40. Normally, if it was that cold,
Yeah.
you wouldn't necessarily be going out. But yeah, it's like a trope, like a Canadian girl going out trope, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, even when I was, like, not in Canada, I was in, like, the Atlantic coast, and just, like, that was, like, your first year of college, it's 2 days a weekend, every weekend, doesn't matter what season it is, you're in some sort of short skirt situation trying to find free alcohol, so, yeah.
Yeah. I was wearing clothes from American Apparel and not knowing my life was heading in a just terrible trajectory. Went up to 5 degrees, too warm to wear a jacket, had to go short sleeve. Yeah, it's really warm here today too. I don't know if you mean 5 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius. That must be Fahrenheit. No, Fahrenheit, that would be really cold.
That'd be really cold still,
That'd be
so
really
yeah,
cold.
we'll say,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
What part of the world are you in, Old Man Felonious? 5 degrees Celsius.
I think Old Man Felonious might be from Canada. I can't remember.
Canada, no?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I might be misremembering. It's been 2 years since the city that fun forgot. Edmonton?
Winnipeg.
Oh, is that Winnipeg?
I bet it's fucking. I'll put money on Winnipeg.
I think
Anyway.
you mean Winterpeg? No, the city that fun forgot.
or Ottawa.
Oh, yeah,
or
I was-
Ottawa.
Ottawa?
Yeah. That's fair
I was
too.
just about to say that. Hey, we have a friend that lives in Ottawa. Cute. Well, you know what? It was really warm where I am today, and I don't live in the city that fun forgot. I don't even know if I live in a city, technically. But
The fuck is Ottawa?
the fuck is
Anyways.
Ottawa? You do know what Ottawa is. Don't act like that. But
Ottawa has
No.
OTTA.
Yeah. Get a grip, can't spell.
oh, I see. Listen, spelling is hard. Hilarious. So okay, I'll end this story with this woman married the pastor's son and started her just abysmal, I presume, marriage, and invited me to her gender reveal party. It was the first time I had ever even heard of this because it wasn't like a common thing back
it was
then.
up and coming. Yes.
So we went to a Boston Pizza, which has nothing to do with Boston and is a franchise kind of like Applebee's back in Canada. Went to a Boston
That's fair.
Pizza.
Definitely did not originate in Boston, but continue.
Yeah, had nothing to do with Boston. It's very much a Canadian franchise. And I was like the only non-Mormon person there, and I dressed just vaguely slutty, as is my norm, and scandalized them, which was fine. But I was like, hey man, how are you? Like, you're having a baby, you married this guy, that's great. Good for you, man. And she's just like, yeah. She's like cusping on tears, and I'm like, that's gotta be pregnant lady shit, right? But no, she's like, he made me quit my job, so now I'm making hats. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you're making hats? And she took them and showed me. She had a bag of them and pictures of them. It was just like feathers glued to felt and like hot glued to a barrette, like a fascinator. And I was like, she's like, it's actually so rewarding and so fun. And like was saying it like, it's really fun and rewarding. And I was just like, blink twice if you need out, because she was.
It's giving Erica Kirk. You should not work and have children and commit your life to your husband and your family energy.
Yeah.
With
That was even the last time I spoke to her, and I felt so
eyes,
bad. Yeah, so, like, yeah. It was interesting, but that's okay. So yeah, that's what happens if you're in a cult. You have to build hats.
Mm-hmm.
You become what? Who builds hats?
A hatter.
No,
a hatter,
there's a different one. There's a different one. Oh, there's a different one.
Are you talking about somebody like a male accessory store, like a? Don't make that motion with your hand.
one of husbands should know.
Like a haberdasher? Is that what you're trying to think of?
That's
Yes.
exactly what I was trying to think. Those
Yes.
guys don't make hats?
Yes. No, they make male accessories, or they have a store that.
Surely including a hat. That's like the most quintessential male accessory.
Yeah, but females also wear hats.
That's true. I was being gendered about this. Excuse me, I've claimed a G'dayemite purchase. I didn't see that you claimed a G'dayemite. Where did you claim a G'dayemite? Oh, you did.
I'm not seeing it either.
Oh, it's because it's showing up in slobs. Do you even know what that is? That's an old redeem.
Yeah.
I don't think you know
Alicia
what it is.
attempts to do an Australian accent for X amount of minutes.
I attempt to do an Australian accent for as many minutes as I can possibly manage, which is not very many now, because I don't do it very often. And it's kind of offensive because I have a lot of Australian friends and a lot of Australian colleagues here. So it's actually, I might not actually want to do it very much. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you guys got.
It is in fact a very deep cut. That was actually quite good. That was decent. That was respectable for somebody who. Have you ever actually been to Australia?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it's offensive. Is it offensive?
I don't think so. I thought it was decent.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, I've done that accent in front of my Australian friends, and they're like, "You sound like you're from New Zealand," and I'm like, "That's fair. This is pretty close."
You're like, I'll take it because that sounds the same from
Yeah. At least I'm not doing any sort of like ethnic accent that would offend someone by accident. I think that's the main thing that I would want to avoid there is accidentally doing something.
Yeah, you're also
you know
not.
what I mean?
You're not doing all the like stereotypes either, right? So
Yes. Well, I mean, G'dayemite kind of is, but that's also they
okay.
say that. I don't know that that's a stereotype if it happens. Yeah, but
yeah, I mean, some stereotypes. Stereotypes can be positive or negative, but they are often based in some level of truth, right?
I suppose.
I mean, they come from somewhere.
Yeah, their origins might be in truth.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, get a grip, redeemed hydrate. Check
my
out
headphones
this sticker.
Ooh.
It's a birthday cat rat. Birthday hat rat. I said cat.
I was
It's really
a birthday hatter
birthday
ratter.
Hat. Yeah, he's a haberdasher. Haber
Ratterdasher? Haberasher.
I think we're malfunctioning.
I think so too. Should we get back to our chosen topic for the? Absolutely not.
No. Yeah, let's do it.
I was gonna say, no, talking about Erica Kirk, though, I'm gonna like go to my soapbox for 2 seconds, but like, can we please deplatform Erica Kirk? I'm so sick of. It's like, so this is something again. Like reading all this cult stuff. I'm like, okay, we're like living in like authoritarian cult energy. Like, it's fully confirmed for me that MAGA is like utilizing cult tactics to maintain power.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So there's like this idea of like privileged individuals within a cult scheme, right? So, you know, cults are a hierarchy. There's a supreme leader or somebody who's on the top of the hierarchy. And then you have these like people who are their executor, right? So we'll call them like a cabinet, essentially cabinet members was the equivalent. And then like, I would say Charlie Kirk was like one of those people. And the power that he could even be his own cult leader, essentially, like Turning Point, you know, if you want to like go on that. And so like the power of these like charismatic leaders is supposed to be so great that they can like have succession, right? In the same way that we saw in like Iran just recently, that Ayatollah Khomeini was like succeeded by his son. You're supposed to be able to like maintain power and like essentially transfer it to like an kin or whatever.
There's so, like a flow. There's a flow chart of like basically what happens afterwards.
Yes. And so like Erica Kirk taking over for Charlie Kirk is like is a similar thing. But to me, I'm like, it is like fundamentally opposed to like all of the things that they're saying. And I'm like, like for me, I'm like, we support women, but I'm like, not Christina, not Pam Bondi, and not Erica Kirk, like in that same way.
Yeah.
And it's like, because for me, I completely disagree with everything she stands for. So like I have no respect for her as a person. But then on the other hand, she is like a woman in a cult authoritarian whatever in a space that is saying you if you're a woman you should not have power, you should be submissive to your husband. And so she's like a woman with power in this space and like this doesn't make
Mm-hmm.
any sense. And so anyways, but I still think like Charlie Kirk was a privileged person in that like space, and like she has now
Absolutely.
taken his spot, which is so, again, it's so odd to me. But again, I'm very much on the soapbox of like I'm so sick of seeing her crazy eyes and her like throwing the word demonic out there, and I'm like, you're so stupid. Like I can't.
I don't know that I see enough internet content to have been touched by much of this outside of
Mm-hmm.
memeing, but I agree with that. I think any sort of like, first of all, inherited power is antithetical to democratic power, right? Like if you can inherit power, it is by definition not democratic unless that power inheritance was voted in a democratic fashion, such as vice presidents taking over when a president is no longer able
Mm-hmm.
to. Yikes!
Yeah.
Oh no.
That's again just a reference to the crazy
Yeah,
eyes.
I think I've seen like this, but I don't know
Yes,
that I've
yeah.
seen like her actual like that sort of thing. Gettiger
Her
Bass, is
talk.
there a difference between a cult and a cult of personality? I don't know that a cult of personality is an actual like academic term that anybody
It's
would have a
not.
hard kind of definition for. And I think if I had to weigh in my personal take on that, would be that
Yeah.
a cult is a cult, and some of them happen to be a cult of personality. And what that means, I think, is
Mm-hmm.
just whether or not the leader is popular and whether or not
Yeah,
they rule by
so
fear or by affection, kind of thing, you know?
yeah, so it's saying cult of
Slay.
personality is state-sponsored, intense, and unquestioning devotion to a charismatic leader, but like that is
Okay.
an aspect of a cult in and of itself, right?
Right.
Frequently characterized by mass media propaganda. So again, like this is just another word for
Yeah.
like cult behavior, authoritarianism. I feel like it's a bit of not a tautology, if that's
No,
maybe the wrong
I'm
use of
with
word,
you
but
on
like
that.
it's a bit redundant to say cult of personality because cults almost always have a charismatic leader because
Yeah.
they have to have willing followers, and if that then expands into like authoritarianism, that's a separate thing entirely.
Right. Hi, Doggy Licious. Welcome in.
Hello, hello,
Slay.
hi.
Um, yeah, I think so. I've gotten some conflicting kind of
Mm-hmm.
takes in my research about whether or not the charismatic leader is a necessity in defining a cult.
Hmm.
Because, so one of the takes
Mm-hmm.
was lots of these cults are led by fear. It's almost, actually, that's a very common part of cults, is to use fear as a tactic. So lots of times the leader is not leading out of like charisma and the ability to get people to listen to you. It's the fear of what will happen if you don't listen to them. So in that way,
Yeah.
that was one of the takes. And then the other one is, depending on what your definition of cult is, there's lots of things that don't really have a charismatic leader but check every other fucking box. And do we not call that a cult because it's doesn't have a charisma? Like, is Amway or any of the MLMs that exist a cult? I don't think that
Yeah.
I don't think I could name a single leader. Maybe Mary Kay of Mary Kay Cosmetics,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
outside of that, and I would consider most of the strong MLMs to be about as close to a cult as you could get without being one,
Yeah.
if not outright a cult. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I think people compare MLMs and cults because they have that similar thing. I mean, you could say any like strong corporate presence where they have an
Mm-hmm.
emphasis on like you being integrated and identifying with their brand, and that could
Mm-hmm.
have is like utilizing cult tactics essentially. So like if for instance people who worked at Tesla, like we all know like Tesla's run by Elon Musk, were
Mm-hmm.
like being forced, and again, maybe they are, I have no idea, are being forced to like attend Tesla parties and interact with Tesla this and like participate in like a social way and like dissent is never like permitted or allowed, that would like probably qualify as a cult essentially.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I guess does it need to be a cult for coercive control and like kind of diabolical persuasion to be bad? I don't know that I need it to hit every requirement for it to be formally defined for me to be like, that's not okay. Don't love that. Right. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's kind of like a,
Hmm.
it's an important thing to be able to define, but it is not a necessity for me to be able to just spew hatred about it, frankly.
Yeah. One of the things that so to reference what you were saying about um it being like led by fear, I feel like at first, you're absolutely right. I think at first we like see that it's being, sorry, back up. Okay. I think that it at first you have to like be invested. I think there has to be some level of
100%. Yeah.
investment, right? And so like I do agree that the fear can come probably at a
Mm-hmm.
later point,
Yeah.
but essentially like the aspects that the psychological aspects that pertain to a cult are like all hitting on different aspects of this like hierarchy of needs. So I'm like showing like
100%.
This is
Yeah.
referred to as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so I mean, physiological needs, no, but that's like food and water. Like maybe there is. Maybe like you have like that's how you get food and water is through this
Mm-hmm.
mechanism, but that's less common, I would
Yep.
say. Um, Safety. So often the cults create this sort of like us versus them mentality. And when we're seeing with
Absolutely.
what we see with like MAGA and Christian nationalism is it's often like portrayed as this like there's a word I might be pronouncing this wrong. Manichean dualism. I don't know if you're like,
Nope.
which is it's the fight of light versus dark essentially, which is
Okay.
like
That's how very Harry Potter
like,
of them.
yes.
It's funny that you talked about Maslow because I also have Maslow in my notes from like
I
one
love
of
that.
the stages because there's this attachment theory which I think you mentioned just in our discussions
Mhm.
about this offline that like a lot of cultism is based on kind of leveraging attachment and that one of them is making it so that their entire support network and all of their needs are serviced by
Yeah.
the cult and that they're taught to believe at least that they can't get them serviced outside of the cult and that that's antithetical to them getting their needs
Yes.
met.
So yes, so like the leader has like stated that they will like meet their needs in this specific
Mm-hmm.
way. And that was also really the only thing I found that was like a vulnerability of like how these become dismantled is that
Mm-hmm.
that leader ultimately doesn't make those promises, like those
Yeah.
promises don't come to fruition.
Yeah.
So and then that's how like followers leave and then everything kind of collapses after that.
Right.
But it there's so it's like this hierarchy of needs is like essential, and I love that we both hit on this phenomenon
Right.
because I think that it's central and they all play on each other, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
you eventually your identity becomes involved in
Yep.
this like in group. So safety, we start to say out group evil, out group is bad. We have to fight out group. They're threatening us.
Yeah.
I knew TGIF stood for
Think
thank gay.
gay, it's Friday.
The gay agenda. What is I don't know. The chat is geeking me right now. Gay agenda. Party a bit harder on Fridays.
I love this.
And
I'm
love
not
and
not saying that.
belonging.
Yeah.
Love and belonging. You have identity with this in-group faction, and
Yeah.
then esteem and self-actualization is like you receive love through the cult and um
Well, not
I
even
don't know.
that. Sometimes they
Yeah.
curate this idea of a higher power, and there's usually
Yes.
some sort of there's like a 8 category thing by one of these like famous cult researchers, but one of them is this
Hmm.
sacred science, and it doesn't need to necessarily be religious, but it is something about like your true self or your real
Yes.
family or some sort of like nebulous and unfalsifiable thing that you're supposed to be achieving that can only be achieved through there. So it's not just your own self-actualizations need that exist in reality. They also create false self-actualization
Yes.
needs
Yeah.
within the cult. Just
Yeah, I
wild.
was gonna say, and like I'm sure that because it's hierarchical, there's probably promotion within that system, MLM style, where you
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? You can move up if you
Yeah.
like reach this level of spiritual enlightenment or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
And
can
again, yeah,
become
I
daddy
think
god
that
or whatever.
yeah, you want to become super daddy god, granddaddy god.
I genuinely believe that there was something like that in that cult. It's so fucked. So fucked.
um, but shit, what was I gonna say? I like
We're sorry.
this is it's the ADHD. I lose my train of thought like this. It's
Yeah.
gone. It's gone. It flew away. Yeah. You like can obviously be move up and like advance in that space and self actualize and help me out here, Alicia. What was I gonna say?
You can move up, but you can never peak. Like they design it so
Yes.
you can never peak. There is no
Yes.
end. Because then
Yeah.
if you met that, then they would be proven
Mhm.
wrong
And
in
sorry, and
they wouldn't be able to deliver, I guess.
yes. And it's intentionally vague and nebulous so that it's impossible to challenge with like outside info essentially.
Yeah.
That is another piece is that cults like they information is privileged and you only receive it through one source essentially and they tell
Yeah.
you to disbelieve everything that is not from this one source or this one, channel essentially.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And it's
Yeah.
oh.
I feel like you really love like the group think and the in-group out-group aspect of like the cult stuff. So is that like something you
I mean,
like dug into more or
I mainly was looking for like the research I was looking at was trying to find some actual brain science about persuasion, how persuasion works, and what kind of, particularly as it pertains to like political ideologies, how easily can your mind be changed when you're what makes you susceptible versus not susceptible, and how susceptible are you when you're in a suggestible state, what gets you there, and those sorts
Mhm.
of things I thought was really important. And also I thought it was interesting the kind of attachment theory of it, where it's like, even if they don't isolate you from another group, like physically or literally through like, telling you to
Mhm.
excommunicate them and being like they're a toxic person or whatever Scientology says,
Yeah.
what a lot of the political kind of rhetoric will be just to discredit dissent, right? So
Mhm. Mhm.
instead of necessarily being like, okay, you're not allowed to watch mainstream news, it's like, well, you can watch mainstream news, but you know those guys are all liars, right? Like, you know that Anderson Cooper's a billionaire, so he's not on our side, and like, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is a lot easier to swallow than you're not
Mhm.
allowed to blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
If you convince someone that that isn't a valid source of information and you tell them here is a valid source of information, again, like you just said, it all comes from within the cult, then you kind of build a self kind of fulfilling loop of distrust external sources, trust internal sources, up to and including the self is apparently an important part of it as well, to
Yes.
discredit your
Yes.
internal narrative and any doubt, and usually to appeal to this kind of superstitious or supernatural kind of what do they call it? Something science. What is it? Sacred science, to appeal to what they call sacred science,
Oh.
where they're saying, oh, that doubt in you, that's, I don't know, whatever, like Satan in Christianity,
Yeah.
which I'm not necessarily referring to as a cult, but at its extreme end, whenever you feel doubt, that's blah happening, and you just need to
Yes.
turn back
Yeah.
towards.
Just believe. Just believe.
Right, right. So, or if
Yeah.
you're judging what someone else is doing, I'm doing this because I was called upon. If the leader is getting, called out doing something questionable, and it builds,
Yeah.
it's an infallible system because it's unfalsifiable,
Yeah.
right?
No, I completely agree and I think that that sort of leads to like self-censorship, right? Because dissent is like the the things that makes this thing fall apart, right? So
Yeah.
it's like how do we absolutely 100% just like stamp down
Mm-hmm.
dissent in all forms, right?
Yeah.
So um self-censorship through that mechanism of, oh, I have something wrong with me because I am dissenting, but also self-censorship like in a like social context, right? Was something that I came upon that I thought was so interesting, of like that people may not actually like believe in what is going on, but
Mm-hmm.
because of social desirability bias, like they have connections within this cult, they will just
Yeah.
not say that they disagree, and it was more in the context of authoritarianism, right? Where like you'll just kind of go along to get along, essentially, and just not
Absolutely.
outright disagree in a verbal manner. And I
Absolutely.
mean, in that still contributes to this like hierarchical leadership, like
A
because
hundred
you're not
percent.
dissenting. Yeah.
Well, and consider the fact that like people are very bad estimators of their own behavior, right? Like how much was polling in 2016 telling us that Donald Trump was going to win? 0%, right? Like everyone was like, no, Hillary's going to blow him out of the fucking water. All the polling, data, whatever. And it wasn't because that data is false. It's because people are reluctant to say something that they believe is an unpopular opinion that is 100% data backed. And their behavior will only
Hmm.
follow what they're saying if it isn't a safe and secretly protected behavior, which thank God voting is. But you can go into a voting booth and you can say to your husband, wife, and friends that you voted Hillary and go in and vote Trump. And there's no
Yeah.
recourse for that, right? So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's 100% true. It reminds me of something that I am blanking on. I saw it was a video on the internet. It might have been a podcast interview where it was with an individual who was like a reporter for like a reputable newspaper. And essentially she had done this like investigative reporting with essentially like an incel, like manosphere incel
Mm-hmm.
community. And in that they essentially like presented themselves, like it was like a group of men who she found through a dating app, who presented themselves as like liberal individuals on the
Mm-hmm.
outside, and because it's, I think especially in certain states, and it's socially desirable to do so, particularly in the
Absolutely.
dating world, I believe.
Yeah.
And but like when they were by themselves and they were online, like they were heavily involved in like,
Yeah.
conservative manosphere stuff,
Yeah.
so it was not and they self-identified as something totally different when they were by themselves. So it is an
Absolutely.
interesting thing, and it's how do individuals reconcile those aspects, right? It's how do you,
Mm-hmm.
and again, this is something we talk about when we're looking at cults, is like how do you justify actions, thoughts, and beliefs within a system that is like telling you to do something totally different.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the thing that really made it so that I was like, yeah, that could happen to me was the
Hmm.
fact that it very much goes a lot like a narcissistic abusive kind of interpersonal relationship. And
Hmm.
it doesn't start with the fear and abuse, which is, I think, what you were saying earlier about their kind of needing to be a
Yeah.
charismatic leader, and me saying, well, some cults lead with fear and stuff like that. They don't usually start out that way. If you start out with
Hmm.
the stick and not the carrot, you're not going to get very many people interested. So lots of
Yeah.
these things start with love bombing and basically form, in this theory at least, and some of the data backs that, is essentially they do this love bombing and they create the idea of this belonging, this emotional safety being part of that in group.
Hmm.
And then they kind of chip away at the outside support network and the connection to it. And anytime that someone brings up concerns, go.
Yes. So one of the words that really like when I was reading this, I was like, that stuck out to me was enmeshment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Sorry, continue with
Absolutely.
what you were saying
No,
though.
I mean it's all of these phrases that we know
Hmm.
from the way that abuse happens in when you
Yes. Yeah.
think about it from a psychological standpoint, but it becomes what we would refer to now with our current nomenclature as a trauma bond, right? Because it
Hmm.
starts to be based on unpredictability. So you start with reward, 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 reward. Who doesn't love that? And then
Yeah.
what happens is you start to intersperse and make it intermittent. And speaking as a behavioral specialist, that schedule of reinforcement that we would call it in like addiction literature is the most effective way to get a behavior to persist, is to reinforce it intermittently and unpredictably. And that's the reason that our dog will continually bring us a toy just every once in a while, because over 11 years, there's probably been
Yeah.
millions of trials in her head where she like brings it and we say no, brings it and we say no. But every 17th time on that day, we do it. So she knows, and her brain has been programmed to detect this.
They will eventually throw the toy if I bring it that many enough times.
That at some point it will happen. And that is extraordinarily resistant to extinction, is what we would call it in behavioral science. So it's resistant to stopping that behavior, and it engenders the most attempts. So if you get your love from this cultish leader or cult members, and you haven't been getting it lately, you will just keep on approaching and be like, hey, maybe I can do better. Maybe I can do this service towards the cult, which is another way that they engender this kind of like servitude aspect of it, right? But no way.
Yeah, that was like something that stuck out to me. It's like, okay, my headphones just died. Give me like 2 seconds to get my whole.
But so I think, I don't know if you can hear me yet, but
I can't actually hear you. And those on stream, let me know if there's any like weird echoey sounds or anything like that. I think we might be good.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Well, no, I love you.
What just happened?
Nothing happened. Nothing happened at all. So basically, I think the other thing that we touched on a little bit earlier is it might not be a threat of actual death or survivability or literal needs for survivability, but the fact that it threatens social death if that group has become your main group and you get threatened to be excommunicated or whatever, it becomes something where you feel as though your well-being is being threatened, right? So you have... Oh,
sorry, one
get a
second.
Grip, no audio for
Get
your
it, just let me-
Alicia.
Yeah, give me a second here.
Oh yeah, because you just switched headphone outputs.
That shouldn't change your desktop audio. That's really odd. Yeah, give me a second. Default speakers, and then I need to... how do I change these settings? Properties... Speakers... Okay, say something, Alicia.
Bonjour.
There we go. This should be working now.
Okay, good.
Guys, I can be my own tech support. This is a massive milestone.
Right?
Okay,
Look how far we've come in like the last month, not even, right? Okay, all good. Thank you, Get a Grip. Appreciate.
Thank you.
Yeah. So essentially what this theory boiled down to is it goes from this attachment trap model is what it calls it, is it goes recruitment through attachment. So it leverages this love bombing approach and it gets, that's the way it recruits. There's a sudden feeling of belonging and emotional safety that is sourced through there. Then it starts to isolate you and make it so that you're dependent on them for whatever types of needs, frequently all of them. And then it transfers to this trauma bond and control where there's this fear and unpredictability, and that engenders in it this really extreme psychological dependency, or what you refer to as enmeshment. And I think that that's kind of a really tidy way to think about it, if not fully inclusive. It's an easy kind of 3-step method, right?
No, I agree. I think like, and then from there, it's like the ability to challenge the ideas that are being presented to you and escape that.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I think was like most obvious to me is when you are enmeshed in that,
Mm-hmm.
your whole identity is attached to that at that point. So you every time you challenge something that is, or even consider challenging something that is being said at the top or by fellow cult members, or your own thoughts, you're challenging your whole identity essentially. And
Absolutely. That's actually a really
that
good point. Because,
that's a very difficult thing to do.
yeah, I mean, that's just what you have to do in normal therapy as a normal human being that's not in a cult. And let me tell
Yeah.
you, not
Yes.
easy. So if you add on
Well,
top of that, like, institutional control, no thank you.
mhm. Well, yeah. Well, think about it like it. Okay, and that's why the term enmeshment I think is so appropriate, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like if you are dependent on all of these people for your emotional needs, how difficult is it for most people to, like, if their family is treating them poorly, to remove themselves from their family?
Yeah.
Like, because that, and like often in like abusive dynamics, enmeshment is there. It's the same thing with
Mm-hmm.
the cult. So if you think you're getting into something that's good and then you go down this path and realize it's not good, but you've gotten so far that you're enmeshed,
Yeah. Or
it's very
fallacy of
difficult to
sunk costs, right?
yes, that too. It's very difficult to remove yourself from that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. I agree a lot. A lot, a lot, a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through my notes of like I feel like there were like five specific things that stuck out to me as like important and like building like how to build a cult essentially. Like charismatic leadership, we've already talked about a fair amount.
Mm-hmm.
In group, out group minority mentality. So it has to be us versus them. They have to build like with that comes like conformity expectations, conformity and loyalty demands within this in group. And
Yeah.
again, always with this opposition that like the out group is not
Yeah.
conforming to these demands. And often, and we see this obviously, preying on loners or people who lack a community, absolutely. But like I think we see this in like the politics right now of like you have to create a threat, and that's going to play into something else of like polarization and fear mongering when it comes to outgroup dynamics. So having
Absolutely.
to say that this outgroup is dangerous, this outgroup is something to be, is not just wrong but is morally corrupt and is something to be like eradicated, is how we get like Nazi Germany type energy.
Absolutely. Well, and we
And then
talked about that
finally,
in the polarization
yeah,
thing a little bit, right? But anyways,
yeah, and then
finally.
achieving that through misinformation as well, which we've always obviously talked about misinformation on this stream previously, but
Well, I mean, a
yeah,
cult is essentially perpetual only misinformation, right? Like,
yeah,
especially when you think about these kind of like pseudo religious or
hmm
cults of ideologies kind of thing, which I
hmm
think most cults kind of fall into that. It's something that, is yeah, it's kind of baked in, I guess. But
yeah, and that's what I think like. Sorry, not to like
no,
come at you, but like I think saying cult of ideology and cult of personality, right? It's kind of it is
yeah,
a little redundant because it's like part of
absolutely,
like
a
it's
hundred
like part of
percent,
this like this schema, and all of these elements play on each other, right? So
right?
you know the this misinformation is perpetuating moral outrage, which is
Mm-hmm.
perpetuating in-group out-group mentality,
Yeah,
which is perpetuating conformity inside of this, and then again
yeah,
that servitude aspect that you spoke about,
yeah,
perpetuating like servitude to our charismatic leader who's going to fulfill our needs and like bring us
yeah.
enlightenment or whatever that end goal is essentially.
Yeah, it's a circle jerk of keeping the system alive, right? Like that, like it
Yes, yeah,
literally is that
yeah,
for all intents and
yeah,
purposes. It's not the most
yeah.
academic term that I could come up with,
I
but
love it. I know.
I mean, I talk about academia being a circle jerk when people fucking self-cite themselves just to boost their own H index, just to boost their own citations
Yeah.
so that they can get more publications where they can cite themselves. I'm like, girls, what are we doing here? Like, honestly,
Mhm.
legitimately. But
Well, again, I was also thinking about this with the like when people are like academia as an MLM or a cult. I think one of the aspects that sets it apart is, does academia truly have a charismatic leader?
nope.
No, right? Unless you look at it within like individual labs, but then it's diffuse power, so it's not quite MLM. We could maybe say yes. I'm
I
not
mean,
100%
I
sure.
do think that it's one of those things that's kind of like saying, like, oh, is Christianity a cult? No. But are there cults within Christianity that use that kind of like niche to play in?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right?
Well,
Like,
I think
there's.
the
Yeah.
fact that children of God, mother of God, it's always
Yeah.
something that's a little hinky, maybe a little bit, there's a little bit of Jesus thrown in there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
They definitely choose when they're gonna. Have you heard of the Twin Flame cult?
There was a Netflix documentary on it
There's
recently,
a
right?
Netflix documentary and a CBC Gem documentary that was actually quite
Ooh.
good. Canada. Are you speaking?
Instead of a podcast, I listen to.
Oh, you listen to a podcast about it. Okay.
Really famous.
Yeah. It's insane because they both like invoke Jesus and then are also like, nah, we're our own thing. We're our own church. And it's like, he's already got lots of those. Like he didn't need you. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Children of the biotech
No, the
lab.
biotech lab. Yes.
Do all religions start as cults? No. No, I think in most cases they very don't.
Okay.
I-
That's a good question. Okay, I'll be so for real. My hot take is that most organized religion is a little bit culty. But I think also
I think that might be a
Religion-
microwaved take. Like hot on the outside, but on the inside it's like still a little frozen.
At
Like,
least okay, I was gonna say that's a microwave take in like Canada. That's a really fucking hot take in the US because this is like
That
people
is
say this is a
true.
Christian nation. Yeah, Queen. Welcome to the US where you have to
Macaroni, no.
where they put freaking 10 commandments in classrooms in some states. So yeah,
Yeah,
let's
that's
be.
true. I forget about that. And
Yeah.
the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to what now? Who do we? To the flag? I'm sorry.
But it's
what?
under God is in that statement. We say
I'm
it-
aware, but it fires off with to a flag? What are we doing down here?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we say it it's also said every morning at the beginning of, yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I know people are like North Korea, man, and I'm like, have you seen this stuff we do on this soil? Like,
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah. I mean, I used to have to say the Lord's Prayer every morning when I was in Catholic school. So.
Yeah, I mean, because you're in Catholic school. That makes sense, honestly.
Yeah, I almost got
The
kicked
fact-
out of
actually-
Catholic school because of dissenting during religion class. They were almost like, you're not allowed to go here anymore. If that's not a cult, I don't know what is.
You're not allowed to go here anymore because you're making these other people critically think about this.
Literally,
No,
I was just like,
excommunicate.
why are people getting bombed? And I can't remember. This was 2003, so presumably Iraq or something like that. And I was just
That
like,
tracks.
why is this happening if there's
That tracks so
God?
much.
Yeah, anyways, that's just propaganda.
Who sent you to Catholic school? And how did your parents respond to that?
What do you
Whichever
mean,
parent it
who
was.
sent me. Well, both my parents were raised like super Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
Like as in my grandmother on my paternal grandparents had the Rosary Channel. Because this is back when, yeah, it's what you think it is. It's a channel that 24/7, 365, if you want to tune in
yeah.
and pop out your necklace, have a little bead fun, not the kind you're thinking of,
Yeah.
you can do the rosary.
It's not that kind of fun, folks.
No,
It's
not kind of fun
not
with
as
beads.
fun as you think. Oh my god, that's really funny.
Yeah. Well, so this is back in the day because I'm of the age that satellite television was the only way you could get TV in the country, which I think it is in still a lot of like super rural regions. But that satellite television, the satellite was the size of this room, and you would have to put like C456, and you would see the entire thing move. Like it was like,
I know exactly what you're talking about because my grandparents had that
Yes.
same shit out in the boonies.
like
yes.
Jodie Foster in Contact is the one changing our channel. So, but anyway, so we had the Rosary Channel, and then my maternal grandparents go to church every day, and they plow the church parking lot.
They
So
plow in the church parking lot? Wait, what? Sorry, what? Is that how your one of your parents came to be? What?
I'm leaving.
Are you well?
No, I'm from close to the Arctic Circle, and they have to plow the snow
Yeah.
from the
okay.
parking lot. Church in Canada is wild. Yeah, they just plow up at the altar. No, God, I'm going. If there is a God, I'm going to hell for this kind of shit. Thank you very much. This podcast. That's not what this is. This stream is condemning me. Anyways, who decided? I don't fucking know. I think first of all, there was only like one elementary school when I first started going to elementary school, and it was Catholic.
Yeah. So
And then
one
I went to
thing that
public
I
school
will
and back and
say,
forth. So yeah.
so one of the things that I think is, again, I don't know if we're gonna turn this stream into like a hate on for organized religion all of a sudden, but like, so this is something that is not seen as much in the US. So like there are private schools here and they're mostly religious. I mean, there's some like programs that are non-denominational, but the fact that like Catholic schools are like funded by the Canadian
I'm
government, I
still
think is
listening,
like
but my earring fell off.
yeah. Your earring fell off?
Yeah, it was stuck to my headphone and then it fell. I have plugs, remember, not normal earrings, so it got it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So that is something that is very odd in Canada, which is I would say is like much more of a like again, I already said that like the US like says it's like a Christian nation, blah blah blah. Canada is like definitely a little bit more secular when it comes to these things, but like education system, you have like two streams of government funded education, like non-denominational and Catholic.
Yeah.
And it's such an odd thing that like a non-privatized institution is like religious.
Yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
true. That's actually true. I never really thought
I don't
about that.
and I'm presuming you did not go to like private school. You went to like a normal like public Catholic school.
Yeah, it was like as close to free as school can get in Canada.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I think like I don't know, we could probably go through like all the religions in the world, but I think the ones that like often are like the most cult like are the ones that like require an individual to like practice their faith through like their faith is interpreted for them through like an individual like priests and pastors and these kinds of things. And there's I believe it was not Lutheranism. Shit. It was one of the Protestant sects that initially left Catholicism and branched off from Catholicism. Calvinism.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That because of this specific aspect of like, they were like, faith should be like personalized and you should be communing with your higher power individually and like directly, not interpreted for you through this pastor, priest, whatever. And again, because it creates this hierarchy and it creates this like cult like charismatic leader dynamic essentially, and they're dictating
the
their
Pope.
faith.
I'm sorry, the Pope. What are we doing here?
I mean, the Pope's from Chicago, so. But what is? Oh, there's a whole ass song that has about that.
I think probably
yes.
the easiest kind of like the easiest religions to do that with are ones that prescribe a certain way to dress or look, because it's a visual identifier, right? Like you can walk around as a closet, Roman Catholic or whatever the fuck you want, and no one will know unless you're wearing a cross necklace or something. Like you don't tend to walk around. I mean, people have like I Love Jesus shirts and shit like that. But, if you're Muslim, if you're wearing a hijab, people know you're Muslim, right? If you're wearing like, what colors is Jainism is the ones that wear the deep red or the deep kind of like saffron colored robes. Anyways, it's a monk of some kind, right? Like you can see.
Oh, that's Buddhism that you're thinking of.
There's one
like
that's
a Buddhist monk?
Well, yeah, but there's a specific colored one that you can tell exactly what subdivision of some Eastern religion it is. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Clearly I don't remember it, but what's this? Popes from Chicago.
Okay, so my partner showed me this. So this is, I'm gonna outright say, this is obviously, I do not own this. This is Carter Vale's music. It's a 22-second clip, so we'll just briefly
I don't
watch
know
it.
who Carter Bale is, but
Can I unmute this?
Dogs don't go to heaven, but bears might. Pull up on the Pope and you might die, 'cause the Pope's from Chicago now. Stone cold 9 neath his papal cap. Middle of mass, yeah, the Pope stays strapped. Interrupt prayers, get a papal slap, 'cause the Pope's from Chicago now.
did he say the Pope stays
The Pope
strapped?
stays strapped. Anyways, yeah, that's
Oh my god. So how are we culting? 404 error loading name. Welcome in. How are we culting? Well, we're not culting currently.
so just for context, we're not planning on starting a cult. We're just teaching people how to start a cult, essentially.
Yeah.
So
Start your own cult 101. No, we're not
yeah.
doing that.
So
But
in summary, you need 5 elements. You need a charismatic leader. You need misinformation. You need people to feel enmeshed, that they are getting all of their like emotional needs met, and then they need to be forced to be into conformity, essentially, in group versus out group thinking.
yeah, discrediting any sort of dissent from within the self. So any sort of like negative doubts that you have in your mind, and you know,
Religion in general, I am okay. I thought it was a hot take, but apparently Chad agrees with me, which makes me feel better.
yeah, I think it's a very secular take, right? Like if you say that to anyone that has any sort of religious affiliation, they'll be like, the fuck. But if you say it to anyone with, you know, any sort of, my dog's making her bed. She's so cute. I'm in the cult of Hoon the dog. Oh, yeah, you. She's so adorable.
Yeah, what would her first act of service be required of you if she
Throw
was
toy.
throw
toy. Throw toy. Throw.
throw.
No take, only throw. I hate religion, should I, but keep it for yourself. Yeah, well, and I guess the whole thing about a cult is it wants to perpetuate itself. It has, as we talked about at the very beginning, this kind of inheritance model to perpetuate itself in absence of the original leader if needed.
Yeah.
And that a lot of religions specifically, part of their doctrine is to not keep it to yourself. Like Islam, one of the things that you're supposed to do is to spread
proselytize.
Yeah. A lot of the Christian religions, it's the same thing. That's why there's missionaries, and why, you know, so many you know, tribes and stuff have been wiped out by syphilis, because fucking stupid ass
Smallpox.
Yeah,
and
that
syphilis,
too.
yeah.
Pick your favorite. We've got both. Yeah. So, okay, this Robert Lifton, as cited by this other lady that I mentioned earlier that now I can't, Natalie Fabert. Fabert? I don't know if she's French or not. She didn't sound French, but anyways, she talks about the 8 deadly sins, or the 8 criteria for ideological totalism, which is, I think, just a fancy way of saying 8 really important things for having coercive control or having a cult, though they don't use that nomenclature. And this is based on studies from Chinese communist re-education. So they took people that were what may have been considered what we would call a prisoner of war in some cases, and tried to deprogram them. So this is a lot of the data that's based on that. So I'll take with a grain of salt, because that's a very narrow kind of place to base a whole theory on for the world. Also dated, right? Because this is from like earlier Chinese communism. But it starts with what they call milieu control, which is basically what we've been saying, where you get encouraged to only source your reality and your idea of reality from within the group, and conceptualize your kind of internal kind of state based on that. Essentially gaslight yourself into thinking that any self-dissent that you have is wrong, and any sources from outside the group are not to be listened to. The next is mystical manipulation, where leaders frame events as part of a larger destiny or a divine plan or a historical inevitability.
Mhm.
Ordinary occurrences are interpreted as signs confirming the group's ideology. And this framing really makes the whole kind of whatever the movement of that cult is kind of appear purposeful. And importantly, it's morally justifying the acts of the cult. So like if you hear about
Yes.
Nexium, I think they branded their followers, and that was like a thing that in the cult, like
Yes.
you wouldn't do that normally. That's weird to the rest of the world. And sure, it's weird to the rest of the world, but as a follower of Nexium, that's how we pledge our blah, 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 you know.
Well, and that's the thing is this altered perception of reality is so essential to like morally justify certain actions that you take either with
Absolutely.
or against outgroup members.
Yeah. So the next one that I thought was interesting was a demand for purity. So this emphasizes, and this is really easy to conceptualize in you know, extreme Christian sects like what we were talking about before, like Mormonism, SDA, LDS, all of that. But this emphasizes the absolute moral purity and divides the world into clear categories of good and evil. So kind of what we were talking about in the polarization stream, where we talk about moralizing anything. Any behavior can be moralized, and members are expected to constantly monitor their own thoughts and behaviors for ideological or moral contamination. And
Yeah.
it
Okay.
creates guilt and reinforcement. Anyways, yeah.
Okay, so that was the role of negative emotions. And so you've touched on this a little bit with sort of like that love bombing abuse tactics, but uncertainty and anxiety amplify all of the dynamics that we previously discussed, right? Because
Absolutely.
often in this, like, where they're talking about you're seeking, well, I'm gonna keep using the word enlightenment, but like, yeah, you're seeking
Yeah, whatever mystic, higher
self-actualization.
truth, whatever.
Yes, you're like there's a certain amount of there's certainty there, right? There people are seeking certainty and therefore they want things to be black and white. But having uncertainty, having cognitive dissonance, having X, Y, and Z makes like you lean harder into the information that the cult has given you as opposed to leaning out. And then anxiety about again like this threat assessment of outgroup activity
Absolutely.
also amplifies like you're identifying with that in-group
Right.
narrative.
Well, because
Yeah.
there's suspicion from outside, and then like just
Yes.
think about just like God's plan, that kind of doctrine. It's like, okay, well,
Yes.
why did my dog get run over by my ex-husband? Well, it's all part of God's plan, and that's how you kind of write off these things that
Yes.
could very easily undermine the doctrine of whatever you know thing that you're having. Like, oh, whatever that happened hurt. Well, that pain is you experiencing some whatever mystical shit, right? So yeah, that's interesting. The important thing about the demand for purity is the demands for purity are frequently so high that they are by design unmeetable. So instead of saying, you know, measurable goals, smart goals, like what you would set in real life, you would have like you need to. What's the thing that they do in Scientology? They debrief. They hold the things and they have the little wee woo. You guys know what I'm talking
Sorry.
about.
I just want to
Scientology.
acknowledge 44 Error's comment of God's plan is running over a dog was really funny, honestly.
I mean, in that example, that's what they would have been saying. Thetans,
Yes.
yeah, operating thetans, including my.
Oh, wow.
Okay, no, but thetans are what you become if you do enough of this. It's some sort of like debriefing. I can't remember what it's called.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, fuck, what is it? I've watched so
What is
many
it?
documentaries about Scientology. I should know this.
Like, what does it encompass? Like, holding hands and saying kumbaya,
No.
kumbaya in a
They
circle?
they hold basically it's like a skin conductance meter, and there's a little gauge that flip flops. Someone knows this. The E meter, right? Okay,
Yes.
but what do they call their stupid little sessions?
Versus emotional reactions.
Auditing. That's what it is. They have to get
okay,
auditing.
okay.
So they go in and they get audited.
Like, taxes? Like, what? Okay.
Literally, and they charge you money for it. So, yeah.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, so you go into these auditing sessions, you hold basically what are two aluminum or some sort of metal that conducts cans that are connected to essentially what is like skin conductance meter. So basically it detects, in this case, it would be how much sweat you have, because a little bit of sweat is more conductive than less sweat. And they presume that sweat is indicative of physiological arousal, which frequently
Okay, so
it is.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
We
skin
use that
conductance is
as
like
a measure
it's actually
in
a
reality.
thing, yeah.
But what
Yeah.
they say is it's an indicator of, I can't remember, there's some other dumb nomenclature that they have that's like, that's something in your brain that you need to get rid of.
Okay, so it's not like a lie detector test, or is there trying to make it like a lying to yourself detector test?
Yeah, so essentially what they'll do is, first of all, they record it. So this becomes another part of the
Yeah.
next thing, which is the cult of confession. So members are encouraged or required to publicly confess doubts, mistakes, or impure thoughts. And they often occur in a group setting or in a structured meeting or are recorded. And it erodes privacy, reinforces the group's authority, and can be used for blackmail later. So what happens in Scientology during these auditing sessions, they'll say, recall a memory from your early life or whatever, and they'll frequently confabulate completely made up memories. And
Interesting.
they will record it and then say, like, you know, what, anything that's making you doubt your purity in our religion, kind of thing, like, oh, one time I cheated on my partner and whatever, and they have this all recorded, so then if you try and leave, they're like, look what we have.
Wow,
Yeah,
okay.
it's mega fucked. And they'll just have you say basically anything, because this skin conductance thing is so sensitive to a movement, which you're just holding them loosely like in your hand and they're attached by a little thing. And also your skin conductance wildly vacillates, right? So you'd be sweating
So
and
it's
paying
like
a lot of money.
Americans are fat as shit, so they'd be sweating like.
I mean, most of the celebrities that are into Scientology probably are not in that.
That's
but-
that's one thing I don't entirely understand. I guess like Scientology is supposed to like again a little bit MLM-y, but like they like are supposed to use aspects of their connections to like help you climb the ranks in like society so you can spread the word of Scientology. So like I don't know if a lot of celebrities became Scientologists post or before their careers.
It's both.
But it's so odd to me that like those are integrated with each other. That there's a lot of like Hollywood elites that are Scientologists.
Well, so it's hard to get actual information because there's very few people that leave effectively and don't get and are powerful enough to not get like taken out by Scientology.
Yeah.
Leah Remini is one of them, and her HBO documentary Scientology in the Prison of Belief is immaculate. It's an HBO documentary, high production value, really good. And then that Coffee and Cults girl that I was talking about before, she does deep dives into Scientology and stuff, and they support each other. It's a mutual thing. So they want to recruit celebrities to legitimize the religion, and they want to help the celebrities.
I was gonna say 404 Error is making a good point. It's not. I wouldn't say it's religion. It's a cult, right? So maybe we shouldn't legitimize it. Yeah, but
Absolutely.
sorry, but yeah, they're using people's connections. You were saying.
Well, they do that. So, like, you'll look at, say, what's the guy that played Hyde in that 70s show? He's now in
Danny
jail.
Masterson,
Danny Masterson.
who raped a bunch of women.
Yes, he
Sugar
super
woman,
did,
yeah.
which was covered up with the help of Scientology.
By Church of Scientology, yep.
But he's got a sibling, Chris Masterson, who is in Malcolm in the Middle, and got into that by one of them helped each other into the thing, and lots of these people are noticeably in each other's projects because of that. So
I see. Okay.
yeah. Anyways. I don't know.
Bronchial.
Polish?
Is that a comment?
I don't know. Maybe it's spam.
I don't know.
But anyway, so this...
Welcome in? Question mark.
Yeah, welcome in? Question mark again. Cult of Confession has that. The sacred science we've also talked about. The group's doctrine is presented as the ultimate truth, beyond question. Ideological claims may be framed as scientifically proven, so using skin conductance, which is a legitimate technique to bolster their believability, even when it's being applied inaccurately. It's spiritually absolute or historically inevitable, as we've mentioned before. And because this doctrine is treated as sacred, criticism or debate are discouraged. So independent thinking, no dice. No dice.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah. There's 3 more. I'll buzz through them so we don't have to like spend too much. Loading the language. Totalistic groups develop specialized language and slogans that simplify complex ideas into short ideological phrases. This vocabulary limits nuance, frames the issues into rigid categories, and over time, the language itself begins to guide and restrict thought. So again, in Scientology, they call anybody that's outside of the church and discouraging you from engaging in the church, in the cult, as a suppressive person. That's what they label it as.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now they even go so far as to abbreviate it and call them SPs, and it's like derogatory. It's like calling, like using any sort of slur for another group, right?
Well, I think that was something also that I kind of was like, so it plays into like misinformation, but like the branding around these things and how I think, sorry, it's like, so going down like digital branding and like digital misinformation, I think it's so interesting looking at, if we look at it from a political perspective,
absolutely,
the use of like AI images of like Donald Trump being this like big, strong, charismatic leader. I think it like, there is like an aspect of like, there is a branding aspect there. There is this like weird sort of digital misinformation, and like, I don't see anybody share those memes except ironically, but the fact that they exist, I'm like, clearly they're being shared in like non-ironic space. They must be being shared in non-ironic spaces.
Yeah, I heard one of the favorite people that I talk about and have on the stream before, Struthless, was talking about this propaganda technique called flooding the zone, where you basically just put so much information out there that it's hard to process volume-wise, which is easy to kind of like conceptualize that's absolutely what's happening. But also the content with which you do that with, allowing absurdist content and things that don't really fit, makes it so that when the person in question does something absurd, it doesn't seem that off base, right? So if you see all of these memes or you hear about, like absolutely nuts things, then when things like that actually happen, it doesn't seem so extreme because you've been in psychology, we would call that primed, right? So his example was, I had never heard of this, but Dan said he had, is Pizzagate. Are people familiar with Pizzagate?
Yes.
Right. So just the fact that your response is, oh my God, shows how delegitimate it is, how preposterous it is.
Yeah.
But note that the fact that we already have that response, and now we have a very related thing actually happening, and because we've delegitimized an existing, already known to be false claim, this seems less extreme. It's kind of like, oh, this is just like that thing. It's easier to write that away when you're on side with the people that you're trying to kind of like de-escalate the importance of this or delegitimize, right? So
well, sorry, going on that note, I think it's such an interest. I know we're deviating from the last couple points that you have, but like talking like misinformation and like conspiracy theories, I think it is so interesting that like conspiracy theories are now like what we genuinely thought were conspiracy theories back in 2020 are now like mainstream reality and like, could you justify that the people like this elite cabal of pedophiles, which we were all like, what the fuck are you guys talking about 5 years ago? And we're like, oh shit, it's real. How many cult tactics do you think are being employed there? Or do you believe that they're all just like terrible people?
You mean in keeping people that are within that group, or to help
could we
the general public not freak out?
Yeah, I think like, could we say that like some of the aspects of cult dynamics were being used to maintain that cabal, essentially? Do you think that Jeffrey Epstein was essentially like building a cult of like pedophilic followers?
Yeah, I mean, I doubt that it was all
that might be a hot take,
sophisticated. But I mean, there's no way to prove it, number one, so I think it's a perfectly reasonable take.
Yeah.
I do think that It probably has a little bit to do with that.
Honestly, if you say I actually don't, I just disagree. I think they're all terrible people. That's a totally justifiable response.
I don't think that. I think it's got touches of some of it and misses the mark on other ones, because like it does have the self-protective, like, we don't talk to people outside the group about what happens here kind of thing, I'm sure is part of it. The protecting, you know, each other and the in-group out-group is certainly there. But I think what it lacks is maybe the power hierarchy within that group, because everyone in that group is so powerful, and they try and kind of recruit similarly powerful people. I think that might be where it loses cult credibility for me, but it's also, again, does it need to hit all the marks for it to be coercive control or damaging or whatever? Not for me. So I'm fine with it. I think that's an acceptable take. Yeah. Too organized to not be collective secret society of evil. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Trump is a pedo and he avoids the news with starting wars. I think it's a simplified take, but I don't completely disagree either.
Yeah, and I mean, the next one is doctrine over person. I'm trying to see if this applies. When personal experiences conflict with the group's teaching, the ideology takes precedence. Members are encouraged to reinterpret or dismiss their own perceptions rather than question the doctrine, and individual judgment becomes subordinate to the collective belief system. So I guess this would be something where you could theorize that there's the ultimate terrible evil version of, you know, being a child abuser and all of that sort of stuff, wherein you're the organizer, the host, and the encourager and procurer of said materials and peoples. And that might be the worst of the worst. And then there's the hierarchy down below that, where the doctrine is, okay, we're all just having fun here, don't be so uptight. I could see that being the rhetoric that keeps people from listening to, because someone in there has to have had a hackle go up and be like, ugh, I might be into some freaky shit, but I'm not into that freaky level of shit. Kind of like what people talked about post P. Diddy, right? Like, not everyone is the same level of diabolical. And I think that cult-like tactics might be employed to prevent dissent and prevent kind of, you know, leaving or whatever. But
yeah, I think, it is, I think it's telling, though, that, like, sexual deviance often is, like, an aspect of cult dynamics. Like, I think, like, 30 to 50% of them end up having some sort of, like, weird sexual aspect to them. So I think, like, there is, like, that secrecy, and, like, I'm like, what is it, the chicken or the egg? And I would have to believe it's I don't know, it comes after, presumably, right? Like, it's like you've created a power structure and now you're trying to take advantage of that power structure. But do you think that is like are there any cults that are derived from sexual deviancy? Like, I don't think BDSM is just like coming up with cults, are they?
No, I mean, I'm not sure. The answer is I'm not sure. I could conceptualize a world in which they could be kind of chicken egg cyclical, but I do tend to agree with you in that it would probably start as, you know what, though, now that I think about it, no, because if you talk about a lot of like what we would call psychopathology in psychological terms, which is a broad term that we don't use in actual psychology to refer to a group of disorders, but these are ones where children frequently will engage in unacceptable and inappropriate behavior, like harming animals, inappropriate behavior with siblings or peers, inappropriate relationships, that sort of thing. And that, I don't think, could possibly be generated from a power structure. By definition, if you're a child, perhaps there's a power dynamic with maybe a younger sibling or classmates or something like that. But I think that the genesis of that pathology would be would precede the later kind of power dynamic that they might devolve into engaging in. But I don't think that that's necessarily the antecedent to all pervs.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry,
Not
I
all
had to, like,
pervs are psychopaths.
Yeah,
Right?
that's fair. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I,
I was like, wrap my brain around that one for a second.
I
Yeah.
mean, I guess it's. I'm
No,
hesitant to
no,
be more explicit about it just for a couple of reasons, but there's different degrees of dirtbag. There's some people that are just
100%.
like kind of general assholes, and then there's like pure unadulterated evil and a whole bunch of shades within between those two things. That
No,
I'm like,
no. Yeah, sorry. I just had to like wrap my brain around what you were saying. Not that I disagreed with. I was like,
I
I
was
don't think
probably
all
being deliberately opaque because I didn't want to be mistaken as defending some psychopath that hurts animals.
I don't think.
as their
Yeah,
child.
I don't think. Yeah. I don't think all pervs are psychopaths. Also, I don't think all psychopaths are pervs necessarily because there's
Both
plenty
are
of
bad on their own. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna go
that's
ahead and call that
there's
right out.
overlap, but anyways, okay.
Both
Oh my
is
God.
worse than either in isolation, but either is
Yeah.
fine for me to be like, not great, not
Where
great.
where the overlap occurs is probably the worst.
Yeah,
Probably.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, last one is dispensing of existence. The group determines who is morally legitimate or worthy of belonging. Outsiders may be portrayed as corrupt, misguided, or dangerous. Leaving the group can be framed as losing one's value, purpose, moral standing, or include social death. Like you won't make it outside of this group. So
Which
those are the
I think is
8.
going back to religions. I think I know we want to like justify them as like actual religions or ways of life and stuff, but like Amish and Mennonitism are like very similar to that, right? Like if you leave the Amish lifestyle, like it's not excommunication. There's another word for it entirely. Oh yeah, you're shunned. Like
Yeah.
that's completely. So like that's honestly so, like and the fact that they are, I think it's respectable in some ways to be like, oh, we're gonna live this like old school purist lifestyle, but again, it's like this isolation from the group around you and like lack of information coming in because of you're cutting yourself off from like other parts of society that I think is like very, very similar to that. And I think I followed like a couple content creators that have left those lifestyles and talk about those aspects of it. Another content creator I actually follow who actually she was raised in a sex cult, so which again is I guess
which
another
one? Show.
Children
cult
of God. Children of God.
Okay,
I believe.
yeah, I've heard that's a
So-
bad one.
Yes. So Daniela Mestyanek Young. I just started reading her first book, Uncultured, which is a memoir, but her second one is actually talking about how like cults exist in the mainstream in America, and I actually like both. Like I started both of them very recently. They're quite good.
I
They're
think
very
I
interesting.
favorited the audiobook of this in
Yes.
looking for material for this. I
Yeah.
have to see if it's so. Pardon me, the one I'm thinking of. But
Since we're like getting to like our last like
Yeah.
15 minutes or so, I just wanted to like offer this as a recommendation. If this has been like it's if you are interested in this topic and you want like to do further reading on it, like check it out. This Culting of America actually literally just came out like 2 months ago, so like it's very like highly relevant to like what is going on
Right.
in the US right now.
okay, cool.
Yeah, so just like a plug. Maybe, and again, I'm always like, if we continue Vulgar Science in the way that we're doing it, I'd love to have like guests and like
Yeah.
on relevant topics that we've had. So maybe we can like
Yeah.
ask her to
So
come
tell
join
your,
us at
tell
some
your
point.
friends, help legitimize
Yes,
us.
yes, exactly. Would love to do something like that. So, anyways,
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I mean, I have a bunch of other studies that I kind of looked at that talk about just like areas of the brain and stuff like that. But what it all really boiled down to was that when persuasion of any kind was occurring, lots of this had to do with ads and
yeah,
brand association. So people that are like, I prefer Coke over Pepsi, kind of like that sort of like stronger brand affiliate takes that people will have, and showing them persuasive media for or against whatever their chosen one was. So if they were Pepsi, then they would be shown pro Coke or anti-Pepsi content. There was a lot of that sort of stuff. What most of it kind of said was cortical regions. So this is our higher order processing that humans and some apes and simians kind of usually are the ones kind of being told we are told that they have. Lower order mammals don't tend to have that. That's what's being recruited or in this case, not recruited when persuasion is happening. So it tends to appeal to different also cortical or subcortical areas where it kind of identifies sorting sometimes, but usually it's basically down-regulated in the participants that are effectively persuaded. So they'll do this with certain people, and the ones that started as Pepsi, saw anti-Pepsi stuff, and then switched to Coke, those people will have those areas of top-down control. So that's when you're thinking, I shouldn't say this. You know, I want to tell this person to fuck off and die, but I shouldn't say that. That's your top-down control. So this is disengaged in those individuals that were effectively persuaded away from their initial preference. And they looked also at whether or not the legitimacy or the value of the message was, I guess, aligned. So the best way to explain it is if you have Andre Agassi selling you tennis shoes, that would be a very aligned kind of endorsement. That would be graded as more what?
Remind me who Andre Agassi is.
He's a very famous tennis player. Roger Federer, Serena Williams, any of that. Just anybody that like, okay, this is their domain. They would know that, right? So if they're endorsing something in that domain, you could say, okay, that's a high value endorsement versus Roger Federer or Serena Williams supporting a betting app or something on your phone. And they look at, again, the persuasiveness of these things. And when those misaligned or not cogent kind of persuasive advertisements are shown, again, it's these kind of like cortical, higher order processing, self-control things are inhibited. And most importantly, in almost all of these studies, people are like, nah, wasn't convincing, didn't work on me. And it just super did, even though like they'll fill out visual analog scales, which is basically you give someone a line and you tell them how persuaded were you this side of the line, just like draw a line on it, right? Layla used these a lot, I think, in your work,
well, like a 0, or just a Likert as well, like a 0 to 5 rating, you know. Yeah.
So anyways, people will be like, it didn't work on me, and then self-report in such a fashion that it did work on them, even though their own verbal self-report said that it didn't. And so essentially, we all think we're immune. We are all not immune, and it works in a lot of cases. And there's one more thing that I could get onto, but I don't want to take up the entire rest of our time. So
no, I mean, the only other thing that I was going to bring up was, I think this is like very much us as psychologists know, like the classic Stanley Milgram obedience study, and how that sort of plays into dynamics.
I also had that.
I did. Okay, so I'll just like again, these are just like last closing points that I think are like very interesting. I know, right? It's our training. So I'll just really quickly pull up.
Better Off Ted, there's actually some really good, specifically anti-smoking research around this area. While Layla's getting that up, I'm going to run and grab my physical papers, and I will try and put a source in there for you to look at. So give me 1 sec.
So like when you're a psychology student, you will like typically learn about this study in like your first like Psych 101 class, essentially. And essentially it's a study about obedience where there was a Confederate in a room pretending to
share
be
one brain cell for real. We share like 1,000 brain cells, you fucks.
Yes, yeah, thanks guys. We have many overlapping brain cells. So essentially, so again, it was done at Yale. It was like a long time ago. A lot of classic psychology studies also would not pass ethical like
Stanford prison
board.
experiment? I mean, what are you guys doing
Yeah.
over there, Ivy League?
Stanford prison experiment. This one specifically as well. So there's a Confederate, which is just an actor in a room, and they're pretending to be shocked by a participant who's coming in, and essentially the participant will like administer shocks, and then over time there'll be a there's like an administrator, like scientist, whoever was in the room with them, saying you have to keep shocking them, you have to keep shocking them, and the actor is starting to like writhe on the floor and like scream and say, oh my god, I'm in so much pain, stop, stop, stop. And the participant would continue to fake shock them at the behest of the like administrator, like scientist in the room, telling them to do so. And so like obedient, like this was an examination of like essentially how willing people are to follow sort of I don't know if I use the word like an authority figure if they're telling them to do something that they can perceive as obviously morally wrong. And they would often protest and say, I don't want to continue shocking this person. This seems wrong. I shouldn't be doing this. But the authority figure would be
you gotta.
You have to, and they would continue to do so. So like this dynamic also plays into cults, obviously, because there's this charismatic leader who is an authority figure who is telling you to do something which you may maybe disagree with morally, but because of all of the things that we've talked about, how your identity is attached to the conformity of this cult environment, this family per se that you've enmeshed yourself with, you will do what that person tells you to do. That's my last little soapbox.
Yeah.
What did you wanna throw out there, Alicia?
I'm just giving Better Off TED a study that was about self-regulated neural responses to tailored smoking cessation messages and how much that predicts quitting. So it talks about just kind of the efficacy of the messages in that one. I believe it was how tailored it was to the person.
These are conscious messaging, right? Not like a subconscious messaging.
No, yeah, this is explicit anti-smoking or smoking cessation ads. So basically, what they did is they asked each of them a whole bunch about their smoking. So someone would be like, I'm a pack a day, I love smoking in the car, you know, they would learn all of this stuff, and they would give some people a very targeted, tailored to them ad about like smoking 1 pack a day leads to X% increase in your whatever. But it would be tailored to them versus smoking a lot or something that was less personalized would be, you know, for a different group kind of thing. And what they found was, I think that the more personalized it was, the more likely it was that the participant would endorse it as persuasive, and that there was some differences in downstream actual quitting, but that it was not significant. I don't know if I'm remembering that correctly, but just because he asked specifically about that, and I was like, I have one piece of data, I wanted to share that.
I was going to say, that actually brings up a really good future topic. We should talk about efficacy of like hypnotic therapies, because I think that the science on that is so for like I've heard it's quite effective for smoking, but anyways.
The last really really interesting to me piece of information was when your personal involvement is low and thus your motivation to think is relatively minimal, the argument quantity, so say you were given 0 to 10 arguments to try and persuade you to something, the more was better. So if you were low investment, low motivation to actually think about something, you're like, I don't really care about this, and I show you just proportionally more arguments, no matter how cogent they are, and they had very cogent versus absolute nonsense. Just if you show them more, they're more convinced. If you're not motivated to think about it, if you say you don't care, you are more likely to believe just higher number of things. If you are invested in the whatever thing it is, you are still subject to the more is better argument, or the more is better kind of evaluation of evidence, but you do evaluate the quality of the argument. So you'll only weight more strong arguments and actual valid arguments and actually evaluate that. So if you ever think like, I don't care about something and it might actually be important, just yeah, try and try to not fall victim to that one. Because I was like, what?
Intellectual curiosity is key, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I would say. Yeah. Money for Versace. Oh, a linen bathroom. What? Bathrobe. Oh,
We're talking about our fashionable cult that we're starting.
I love that.
Well, there was I tried to get the link to the red one, but the link is broken, so
There's a red one? I didn't know. Anyways, the money will just pour in once the cult is up and running. You know what?
Yes, absolutely.
We really sold it for starting a cult over here today.
Yeah, I know. We laid out got the fucking step-by-step guide on how to do so.
Right.
Oh my god.
Okay. All right, should we select a raid target and then raid out? Also, we don't have a raid call for Vulgar Science. Once upon a time, Neuroalicia had a raid call, but yeah. Alicia Layla calendars, just of us just angrily in fucking snowsuits being like, no bobs.
I mean, we could do it seasonally. We could do bobs in summer, and we could do no bobs.
No bobs! You know what? It depends how much money my bobs would make me, frankly. But no bobs. I stand by what I said. Dan types seriously in the background. A wild fiance has appeared. He is not impressed.
Do you want this cult to work or not? Is geeking the fuck out of me. Bobs and bar bobs. Oh god.
No.
Oh god.
We're both canceled.
Yeah, for real,
fucking canceled. What? I have too many fucking tabs open. What's
yeah.
happening
Why
to me?
why can't I get this to okay.
All right. If you guys have just the patience to hang around until we raid out and say a true goodbye to y'all, that would be amazing. So give us a hot second. Thanks, chat, for chatting. Thanks for your involvement. Thanks for new folks. Thanks for any lurkers, if indeed there were any.
So I was gonna say, Astro Canuck is on if we want to do. I know we like almost always do science. So
I love Astro Canuck. He's a great person. Are you speaking to me? Okay. I thought he was talking to
Better off Ted. So sorry, I know we've been like really inconsistent. We are aiming to do pretty much every Tuesday, like
7:30
Tuesdays
Eastern time, 4:30 question mark?
30 PST. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing it. We should be doing it again next week on St. Patrick's Day. Theme stream. I will be at a conference on the 24th, though, so that might get moved around. We'll have to make a decision about that. And then if we don't, we'll be back on the 31st, so.
Alrighty. Yeah, do we want to raid Astro? I haven't been on his stream in 2 years.
I know, so I'm like, should we be like telling people we're coming back? Anyways, y'all, I forget this every time. How do I raid again? I just type raid /
raid and
/ raid.
Oh god. Christ. I can't do this.
Raid, and then I put the channel name in. Aha, channel name. There, it tells me how to do it. And the channel name is...
and then just Astro, is it
It's all one word, Astro
Canuck. Okay. Last time when I did this, I like started it but didn't do it. And it was weird, yeah.
Yeah, there was a massive delay last time, but... Okay. Well, thank you guys again for being here. You ready to go?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Just wait. Are capitals relevant? Do I have to capitalize anything in this? Or is it...
I don't know. Maybe you're leading the raid because you invited me this time. Because I did.
Is it case?
Raid.
Is it case sensitive? Okay, we'll find out. Anyways, okay. Thank you guys for being here. This has been Vulgar Science with Layla Shode
and Neuroalicia. See you guys next week.
Love y'all. See you next week. Bye.
Boy. Okay. I think you have to lead this. I don't know how.
The raid has been created. I think you have more viewers. You have to also raid. Both of us have to raid.
I've typed it like 4 times. It says Vulgar Science.
And it's not letting you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then we stop streaming, right?
I haven't stopped streaming because I thought that I had to raid
Okay, I'll
first.
raid now. And then stop streaming.
Yeah, I don't know. Last time it brought both of us in when I did it, right? So it should bring me in. Okay. All right, bye.